Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Howie Heckman. I'm one of the developers here at PTS. Today, I'll be giving you a demo on ClearStream version 3.0, talking about some of the features of the software, some of the new features in version 3.0, and kind of give you a walkthrough of how everything works and how you can kind of get up and running with Fixed RFID very quickly using ClearStream RFID. I'm going to actually bring up the website now, our ClearStreamRFID.com website. I would like to mention, just before I go into the live demonstration here, that all of the software that I show you today is available from our website here at ClearStreamRFID.com. So if you go to ClearStreamRFID.com, anywhere where you see this take a trial or try it free, that will allow you to download the application and install it in a trial mode. And the trial mode only limits you to the amount of time that the application will run and send tags into the destination. So you can trial all of the features that are built into the software just for basically a limited time until the reader shut off. But you can see all the features and how everything works. So everything I do today, you'll be able to take a look at. Also to note on top of that, the virtual environment, if you wanted to do that, that also does not require registration. So if you wanted to trial that virtual environment tool that I mentioned, you can go ahead and do that in trial mode as well. I would also like to mention that we do have a new ClearStream RFID support forum on our website. So if you have any questions or general feedback or anything like that that you'd like to send over to us or the community, the ClearStream community, please join up for our community forum and post your questions here. People out in the field will answer these, or internally here at PTS. We will go ahead and answer any questions that you may have. It could be anything regarding the software, feedback, anything you're trialing with ClearStream RFID. Okay, and that you can actually find on our ClearStreamRFID.com page if you click on the support form up on the top right here. Okay, so with that, I'm going to jump over to ClearStream RFID and kind of talk a little bit about how the application works and how quickly you can get up and running with Fixed RFID. So after you download the trial and run through the installer, excuse me, you will be presented with this screen here. This is ClearStream RFID, and it's kind of the home screen when you open it up on this configuration form. And the way ClearStream works is you have a source of tag data on the left-hand side and a destination of the tag data on the right-hand side. So on the source side, you would generally select RFID from this type dropdown. On the right-hand side, you'd pick where you'd like the tag information to go that the RFID reader on the left-hand side is reading to post to a database table, Excel spreadsheet, or text file. So today I'm going to go ahead and select the sample that's provided. So I'm going to go ahead and select ODBC. When you select ODBC, you'll be presented with a drop-down that contains all of the databases that you have on this PC here, the server that you're setting up the application. This could be anything from, again, SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, or anything like that. But for today, I'm going to go ahead and select this ClearStream RFID sample, which is a Microsoft Access database that's provided with the installer when you install ClearStream. And one of the tables in that Access database here is this RFID tag list. And the RFID tag list is just the landing table that you can use for trialing the application. And it contains all of the fields of information you can see here that you would collect on the reader. So things like the EPC value, the tag identifier memory bank, the user memory bank, the antenna that scans the tag, signal strength of the tag, a date timestamp, the reader name, and a start event and count. So these are the different fields of information that are collected from the reader every time a tag is scanned. So this RFID tag list table that's provided with the installer has those fields already configured. If you had your own database table that you already had set up, maybe in a SQL Server database or something like that, you would see those fields that you've configured in that table on this right-hand side. And again, on the left-hand side are just the fields from the Fixed RFID reader that you have selected that are collected every time a tag is scanned. So those values that are scanned would then be sent to the destination. So this mapping here, you're generally mapping it one-to-one, EPC to EPC, tag identifier to tag identifier, and so on. So you're marrying up the fields from the Fixed RFID reader on the source side to the fields in your destination on this destination side. Okay, so this would be considered one sync process here. If you wanted to configure additional readers, you would just go ahead and hit this plus button here, and you'll be presented with another form for configuring another Fixed RFID reader on the left-hand side in the source to another destination table on the right-hand side here, which can be a completely separate destination table. It could be something else other than that access table. So for today, I'm going to just go ahead and configure the 1 here. After you have this set up here, the one thing you'll need to do is add the reader on this source side. So right now I have no RFID readers configured. So what I'll need to do is click the readers button. When you do that, you'll be presented with the reader configuration dialog. And this is where you're configuring the different readers you have out in the field. So let's say you had 10, 15 readers. You would go ahead and add them to this dialog. So you press the add button. You'd select the manufacturer of the reader that you'd like. Now we support many different manufacturers here, from Motorola, Intermec, Impinj, Alien, and ThingMagic, and any reader that supports LLRP. So if there's a manufacturer that you don't see here, but the reader supports LLRP, just go ahead and select the LLRP option, and that will generally connect to that reader and allow you to use it within ClearStream. So for today, I'm going to go ahead. I have a Motorola reader that I'm going to hook up to, so I'm going to go ahead and select Motorola from my list here. You can see it added a reader that you now have available. I'm going to go ahead and say this is Stockroom 1. I'm going to name the reader. So this reader now has a name, and this is one of the fields of information that's captured with the tag as it's scanned. So every time reader 1, or this reader that I have here, which is labeled Stockroom 1, scans a tag, that tag is then sent to your database and collected with that information. So you can see where that tag is, that it's in Stockroom 1. The next thing you'll need to do is enter the IP address or the host name of the fixed RFID reader. Now all of these fixed RFID readers, or all of the fixed RFID readers that are supported by ClearStream, are network-based readers. They all plug into your network and would be assigned an IP address or have a host name. So you would go ahead and enter the IP address. Now I'm going to enter the IP address that I know, but if you happen to not know the reader that you're connecting to, there is this find feature here. If you click this find button, it'll open up a dialog that'll search across your network looking for fixed RFID readers. So if you don't know the host name or IP address, you can just use that find feature. It will automatically populate the IP address once you find the reader you're looking for, and then hook up, and that reader will be ready to go. Okay, so now I have one reader called Stockroom 1. It's a Motorola reader. The IP address is 4.125. And now down below here, this is where you're configuring how the reader's reading, or when the reader's reading tags, how it's reading tags, maybe the power level of the reader, and all the different attributes of that fixed RFID reader you're configuring down here. I'll start by just doing the defaults, just so you can kind of see how this works. The default here is to scan in a continuous mode. That means that fixed RFID reader you have on your network is always scanning for tags. It's just sitting there. Any tag that comes into the field of view of the antennas is captured and sent to your destination. I'll come back actually in a second and talk a little bit further about these other features here, but I'm going to go ahead with the defaults. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close here, and what you'll notice is now I have one RFID reader available in my configuration. Every RFID reader that you add to the system will be added to this dropdown, and if you wanted to hook up a different reader, you would just select that reader from this dropdown. But at this point, you can see I have my Stockroom 1 reader hooked up to this destination, which is this RFID tag list of Microsoft Access table. And if I go to that table, you can actually see here, this is the database that's provided. Right now it's empty, so you see there's no EPC values, there's no antenna names, and so on. There's no data in this table. So what I should see here is once I start this reader up, if there's any tags in the field of view of the antenna, you should see them populated in this access table. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So what I'll do first is save my project. I'll just call it webinar. Okay, I saved my project. Now I'm going to go ahead and over to the start stop form. This is where you're powering up all your readers. Now you can see I have my one reader configured so far. It's the Stockroom 1. Again, if I had many other readers configured here, you'd see them in this list, and you could start them all, you could stop them all, or you can start only particular ones that you'd like from this list. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start here. And what you can see is once that starts, it's actually scanning for tags. You can see the activity down below because it's actively scanning tags at this moment. I'm just going to let this run for a second. If I go ahead now and hit stop, it'll stop that reader from scanning tags. And if I go back over to the access table and hit refresh, you can see now that in that time frame that I just scanned tags, and now I have just tags kind of sitting in front of this reader, you can see these are there's 356 tags that were scanned, and they were captured with the different bits of information here that the reader had had sent to our destination. So the antenna name, you can see I have one antenna hooked up to this reader. It just sent over with 1. You can see the signal strength of the tag. It can generally or sometimes be used for the how close the tag is to the reader. A date timestamp of when that reader was scanned. Looks like I might time off on the reader. The reader name, you can see I customized that reader name to be Stockroom 1. And then some other things here, like the start event. This is how the reader was started. This can be customized as well. But you can see it captured all of this tag information and sent it to the access table here. And now we know that all of these tags that were scanned are in Stockroom 1. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these tags and actually customize this a little bit further so that you can see another scan. So I'm going to go back to the configure form. I'll jump back over to my readers. Now you saw from that data that the antenna name was captured with antenna 1. Well, let's say we wanted to customize that. Let's say maybe we wanted to change this so that instead of the reader being named Stockroom, let's name it Warehouse 1. And now let's say we wanted to have 2 antennas set up, which I only have 1 hooked up to this right now. But let's say we wanted to have 2 antennas, and we wanted to customize which portal a tag went through as it was being scanned. I'm going to go ahead and rename the reader name to Warehouse 1. I'm going to go to my Antennas tab down here, and I'm going to go ahead and add the antenna that I have, and I'm going to give it a new name called Portal 1. Okay, and I'll keep it at full power. We can actually configure this to have a further read range or shorter read range based on this power here. So now I made that change, and I want to go back, and I'm going to actually start the scan again so you can see that change being made and sent to the destination. So I'll save my project again. I'll go to the Start Stop. I'll hit Start Selected again. This starts scanning for tags. I'll go ahead and hit Stop. If I jump back over to our database and hit Refresh, now you can see there's some new information captured with those tags. So this time I got 37. I didn't let it run as long. You can see the antenna name now is Portal 1. So now we have a better description of where that tag is, maybe that it went through Portal 1 as it was being powered up or as the reader was actively reading, and it's in Warehouse 1. So you can see you have 2 bits of information here that are captured with that tag for locationing. So you can see that it's in Warehouse 1 because it was read by that reader, and also that it went through Portal 1. So you can keep track of how that tag, which portal it went through as it left or entered the warehouse. Okay. So you can see how you can customize that and send the tags to this access table. Now, one thing I'd like to note is you can see I did read 37 tags here. Last time I read quite a bit more. A lot of these could be duplicates in our access table because the way I have it configured at this point is every time a tag is scanned, it's going to send it to the destination. Now, that could be the same tag. It could read it twice, 3 times, 4 times, or more. It's going to take that tag and just append it to this destination table. So let's just say we wanted to update the tags in the database with the new information as it's being scanned. So what I can do there is on the destination side, rather than in this options just do a straight append to the destination, I can go ahead and do an update existing append if not found. And then what I'm going to do is update based on the EPC value of that tag. And basically what this tells it to do is every time you scan a tag on the source side, go ahead and send it to the destination, but don't just append it to the destination as a new tag. Go ahead and if it's in that destination, look for it first, and then update it with the new information from that scan. So this is very useful if you want to keep track of something maybe as it goes throughout a warehouse. You don't want to see in your data a whole bunch of duplicate tags here as it's being scanned. You just want to see that tag a couple of times, or I'm sorry, one time, but see where it is. So it's always just updating that single tag in the database with its location based on where it was last scanned. So that you can configure on the destination side. On the source side, you can also do tag filtering. So you can filter the tags that are read by that reader. So let's say you only wanted to read tags that started with some value. You can go ahead and say where EPC like, and let's say you only wanted to scan part tags. They always started with a P if you're reading an ASCII mode. You could do something like if EPC like this P %. That basically says anything that starts with a P only send that to my destination. So you can do tag filtering. It could also be useful for filtering out tags that maybe had a very weak scan. So if you didn't want tags that are potentially further away from the reader than you want, you can filter them out here based on the signal strength coming back from the tag. I'm going to go ahead and remove that for now. To talk a little bit more about some of the reader options you have. So you can see I have my one reader here. I have this scan mode set to continuous. You can also turn the readers on and off based on a timed interval. So maybe you only want to power the reader up once a day to do a stock take of some stockroom closet or something like that. You can go ahead and do time syncs. You can do it daily as well, so it's only powered up during business hours when activity would actually be performed when the readers during a business day or something like that. You can also do GPIO triggers. This is general purpose input. This would allow you to hook up buttons or light sensors or something to the reader to power up the reader for when it's reading tags. So it's not always scanning for tags. It's only doing it when there's actual movement through a portal, say, or something like that. You're controlling when the reader is reading, so it's not just always on. Again, the antennas tab allows you to configure the antennas, give the antennas names. If you had multiple antennas on the reader, you can go ahead and configure each one here. So maybe antenna 2 is portal 2, and then antenna 3 is portal 3, or so on. You can configure all of that, those values that are then sent to the destination to keep track of where that tag is, which antenna scans that tag. On the GPIO, the General Purpose Output tab, this is where you can configure the outputs on a reader, so you can power up things like lights and buzzers based on the activity of the reader. So you have full control over those outputs, so that you can do things like show that activity that is happening on the reader so that the user knows that it's scanning tags. Or maybe if you wanted to set up some type of portal that didn't allow certain tags to go through that portal, you can power up a buzzer or something like that using these GPIO settings. And the basic idea here is for each output port that you wanted to power up, you would go ahead and add it to your list. You'd select what triggers the output, so maybe a destination data insert. Basically, that means anytime a new tag is sent to my destination, this is an alert. This is when this output's going to be powered up. The port state, you can turn it on or off. Basically, true is on, false is off. The duration of how long you'd like the output to be powered up. So if you had a buzzer that you wanted to sound for maybe 2 seconds, you could go ahead and do that here. And then a condition of what would turn it on. So if you only wanted it to turn on for certain things, you would enter that here so that you're powering up the output, that light or whatever it may be, only during certain conditions that happen within ClearStream. On the device tab here, you have different device options. These are manufacturer specific. Motorola here has this tag event reporting. I won't go into too much detail here. I'm not going to configure it. But basically, this allows you to do things like control when you get tag reads sent to your destination. You can see there's 3 events. There's a new tag event, there's a tag invisible event, and then a back to visible event. The new tag is every time a reader scans a tag that's brand new. It's never seen before. So you would get a tag event for that. Tag invisible means a tag that's been read, but now is no longer seen by the reader. You can turn that on so you get a tag read or a tag event when that happens. So people have used that for keeping track of how long a tag is basically in front of a reader. So you're keeping a kind of a counter of when the tag first comes in front of the reader and then when it goes away. So you're only getting those 2 tag events. So these options here really give you kind of some control over when you're getting tag events rather than just getting them all the time from the reader. Okay. So that's kind of all the options here you have for the reader. At this point, maybe I'm going to jump over to the virtual simulator tool, virtual site survey, to kind of show you how that works. So you can see here, again, just to recap a little bit, I set up one real fixed RFID reader out in our environment, and I hooked it up to our destination. But let's just say you don't have a fixed RFID reader, or you wanted to kind of design the layout of what your fixed RFID environment may look like, or what you're intending for it to look like, to get an idea of how you should set up the actual fixed RFID readers. So to do that, you can use our Virtual Site Survey tool, which is available up in the Tools menu here. So if you go to Tools and then Virtual Site Survey, this opens up a designer where you can lay out a floor plan of what you're looking to try to scan with these fixed RFID readers. This is just a simple drag and drop environment. To add floor space here, you would go ahead and click the plus floor space button. You would go ahead and drag out the floor plan that you're looking to scan. So just say I'm going to go ahead and do maybe two rooms here, connected by a single portal where items go in and out of this room here, and they go into the second room here. So let's just say, let's say this is the warehouse. And let's go ahead here and let's label this one the showroom floor or something like that. Okay, and you just want to keep track of where the item is, whether it's in the warehouse or the showroom floor here. So these are just labels so you can see what's what here. But I'm going to go ahead and now add a virtual reader. I'm going to pick this RFID reader here. I'm going to add 2 antennas to this reader. Okay, and I'm going to position my antennas along this portal here. So I'm going to have this one scanning across the doorway on the showroom floor side. Let's just line this up as needed. And I'm going to put this one on the warehouse floor on the inside of the portal. Okay. Now I'm going to add a tag container, which can be a couple different things. Right here it's a box, but you can also do a pallet. I can't get to that thing. A pallet and IT asset if you wanted to scan a computer, but you can kind of customize that to what you're looking to scan. I'll leave it as the box for now. So you can see you can move this item around in the environment, but this is basically what you want to scan. You want to keep track of where this box is, whether it's on the warehouse floor or the showroom floor. So this is my environment. I have it fully configured here. I have my reader, I have 2 antennas, and then I have the item that I'm looking to track. You can add as many of these as you like to the environment. But now I'm going to go back over to the configuration. Now, I don't have this hooked up to anything, so what I need to do is go back to the configuration tool. I'm going to go ahead and add a new process. Let's call this one the virtual environment. Again, I'm going to select a source of RFID, so just the same as you would the actual fixed RFID reader. I'm going to go ahead and select RFID for my source. I'm going to go ahead and select ODBC as the destination. Again, I'm going to pick the ClearStream RFID sample. I'm going to jump over to my Access database and just make sure it's clear, there's no tags in it. Okay. Now, on the destination side, I'm going to configure this one to be update existing, append if not found, based on the EPC value. Okay, so the field mappings I'm going to leave just the same as I would my virtual environment. So one thing you can note here is this is the same setup as you would for an actual fixed RFID reader that's hooked up to your network. On the source side, I want to go ahead now. I have this 4.125 Motorola reader, but I want to hook this one up to the virtual reader. So what I'm going to do is go back to the readers dialog, click Add, and this time I'm going to select Emulated from my list. I'm going to call this one, the reader may be Acmeco. Okay, and now I want to do one thing is I want to add 2 antennas to my environment. Now the first one is going to be the warehouse floor. Oops. The second one will be the showroom. Okay, so you can see I added the 2 antennas to the environment, so I need to make sure that I have 2 antennas hooked up in my configuration of my emulated reader, just the same way you would with the real fixed RFID reader. Scanning I'm going to leave as continuous. I think I'm going to leave all those other settings the same, so I'll just go ahead and kind of close this. The next thing I need to do is just make sure that I select my emulated reader as the source side. So this now I have my emulated reader hooked up to this same RFID tag list table, which is my access table. And I have all my field mapping set up correctly down here on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. I'll jump back over to the virtual environment for a second. You can see now this antenna field of view. This is where it would read tags. These are red, and also the reader doesn't have any lights powered up. So if I go back to the start-stop form after saving this, I'm going to click on the Acme Company reader, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Start. So that switches my running state for this reader to true, and an inventory is in progress. It's actively scanning for tags. If I go to the environment now, you'll see that the reader is powered up. The read range here, this field of view of the antenna, is green. And now I'm going to take this piece of equipment here that I want to scan. I'm going to put it inside of the field of view of the warehouse floor, just to initialize it there, that it's in the warehouse. So now if I go to the start-stop form, you can see there was activity scanned, the virtual environment. If I go to the data viewer, you can see that item that I scanned is on the warehouse floor. Now this, I should have mentioned this before, this is the data viewer. This is just a viewer of your access table. So if I go to the access table and hit refresh, you'll see the same information in the access table that you see in the data viewer. But you can see that item that I just scanned is now currently on the warehouse floor. We can tell based on the antenna that last scanned it. So what I'll do is go back to the virtual environment. I'm going to slide this thing through the portal. I'll just go through this read range here, and you can see I'm bringing it out on the showroom floor. Now if I go back to the access database, you can see now the antenna name already updated with showroom. So you can see it's keeping track of where it is in our virtual environment. Again, if I went back to the environment, if I move this back into the warehouse, go through that portal, if I go back to my access database, you can see, again, it is on the warehouse floor. You can also view that in the data viewer. If I refresh, that's in the warehouse floor. So you can see that virtual environment allows you to kind of give you an idea of how you can lay out your floor plan, where you're going to set up these portals, and just kind of how it would work. One of the important things to note with this, again, is the setup is identical to hooking up a fixed RFID reader. It's just these virtual readers. And it sends that tag information into the actual database that you may want to use with the fixed RFID readers or actual fixed RFID readers. So you can see that setup from start to finish if you were to implement the fixed RFID system to see how the data would be sent to your actual database. If you wanted to add another tag container here, you can do that. If I scan it on the warehouse floor side, I go back to my access database, you can see this item is on the warehouse floor. If I take the new item, kind of move it through into our showroom, you can see it captures it on the showroom. So it's a good way to see how the fixed RFID would work in your environment, and how you can set it up to keep track of items and their movement. Okay. So I think that's all I wanted to show you today as far as setting up ClearStream. I hope you guys kind of got an idea of how this works. It's a fairly simple setup in that you're setting up a source, which is your RFID reader, and you're hooking it up to a destination where all of the tags are going every time a tag is scanned, and it's sending it to this table. So here, I encourage everybody today, if you haven't used ClearStream RFID, if you haven't downloaded it already, to go to our website and download the trial application. Again, you can trial everything I showed you here today to see how the application may work, and also then see if you have any questions as you're going through the application. So here's our contact information if you do that. If you'd like to reach out to us with your feedback or questions, we'd be glad to get you any information that you may need. And for those of you also, again, looking to sign up with our reseller program or get more information on that, here's our contact information as well. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today on the webinar. We look forward to seeing you again all in the future. All right, thanks again, everybody. All right, bye-bye.